Good evening, everyone. On LinkedIn and YouTube, we are streaming live from our, Protect Academy space. We'll wait for some time for some more people to join. Once we'll wait, say, roughly 30 odd seconds, giving time to people to join our webinar, and uh, and then we will start on. Today we are speaking on how to change your career smoothly, and it's not aimed only at armed forces professional. It is aimed at each and every one of you who would like to transition from one vertical of your career space to some another vertical of career space. Right. Without much delay, we will now start our proceedings. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Protect Academy's live webinar, which is being streamed both on LinkedIn and YouTube. I'm joined by Colonel Premvas, retired from Indian Army, and we will be talking on how to change our careers smoothly in whichever uh, career domain we are. Right. A small introduction from my side. I'm Colonel Shubhajit Nahar, retired from Indian Army. Uh, Professionally, I was into the core of signals, which deals with all the network and IT issues in the Indian Army, including forward edge deployment of sensors and their networking and integrating various battlefield entities. Okay, as similar to what AWS or Amazon does its operations. Right. Post retirement, I ventured into EdTech and managed cybersecurity services, and I am a lead trainer for certified information systems security professional, AWS, CCNA, and multi and other certifications which we do conduct on our platform. And I have more than 24 years of experience into information and cybersecurity domain. I'm engineer by profession. I'm a chemist by profession. I'm also a master's in defense and strategic studies from University of Madras. Right. So we are joined today with Colonel Prem Vas. Colonel Prem Vas comes from again from Indian Army, and he has a vast set of experience set. Now, Colonel Prem Vas today is an independent career mentor, but he has more than 2 decades of experience. Firstly, in the Indian Army, in the Regiment of Artillery, and also as a Black Cat Commando and leading a team at the prestigious 51 Special Action Group. Right. He's an alumnus of IIM Ahmedabad and has more than 15 plus years of experience in corporate as head of admin, chief of operations, head of HR, and management consultant of 4 different industries. In his third career now look at his experience set now in his third career. I must say he's an associate certified coach, ACC, from International Coaching Federation. He coaches and mentors career transitions, in addition to life and leadership coaching for individuals and corporates, as well as grooming MBA grads from premier institutes, oblique universities. I see very often he's speaking at IIM Ahmedabad, IIM Indore, and various other institutes of repute. He is a behavioral event interview specialist and takes sessions for national and international corporates on how to conduct effective interviews. Okay, an international author whose book "How to Sharpen Your Interview Skills" is widely read across the globe. He has addressed global and regional webinars. He is a motivational video blogger and speaker and guest faculty to premier institutes, including IIMs and IITs. He brands with his own website and YouTube channel, Leadership with Vas. Uh, Colonel Vas loves experimenting on well being, listening to music, and leisure writing. Now, guys, that's a more official version of his introduction. I've known Colonel Vas for almost 4 years now, and during my own transition journey from Indian Army to the corporate world and now to the entrepreneurship, Colonel Vas has guided me well. He's shown me the direction, and which has definitely helped me a lot. Right. Also, on the personal front, my wife was taking a career break to meet the family obligations, and I introduced my wife to Colonel Vaz, who coached my wife. And believe me, 12 years she has been trying to get into shape into her career. And a small decision of changing her CV, wherein I, made my wife sit with Colonel Vaz and go through his sessions, helped my wife's confidence level to boost up, and she landed up a pretty exciting job within 2 months. So 12 years of gap, and then she changes her, CV, and that's when I realized that he has great mentorship abilities, which can help people in the armed forces and in the corporates who are aiming to change their career lines, but at times are afraid of taking risks. But you take risks by preparing yourself. Okay, that's a short introduction of Colonel Vas. So over to you, and the stage is all yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Subhajit, and thanks a lot to Pratek. Pratek has been a very inspiring journey in a very short time. It's taken off with all the boosters on, and thanks for the introduction, and also to your team for having got me here. So we will straight away dive into the topic. Let me share my screen. So just 1 second. Okay. Please tell me if you can see the screen and you can hear me also.
So the screen is not visible yet.
Yeah. Now,
I will remove my slide from the screen so that my slides are removed, but your screen is still not visible.
okay, just 1 second. Hmm. All right. Now you should be able to see it.
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm adding it to the stage.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much, Subhajit. So we are going into the presentation proper. So what I'm going to do is I'll take you through this. I'm hoping to do this within about 40 minutes, and thereafter we take on the question and answers. So how are we going to do this? This is how we are going to do it. Firstly, I will not be touching the basics. So we are only going to finer aspects of a career change because when I took a look at the registrations, I found close to 50% plus are people above 10 years of experience, and about 32 of them are between 3 and 10 years of experience. So I don't have to touch the basics. So what I will do is based on the experience of 15 years in 4 different industries, chief of operations, head of HR, and all of that, I'll be able to touch on finer aspects that generally you don't come across. So that is where the this particular session is going to be. So please keep your questions with you, and at the end of it, we will take them on. And if you have the time, the second aspect that I want you to remember when I am going through the session is that since we have about 78 of us who had registered, and out of that, a whole lot of you are from various professions. So I can't get specific for any particular profession. So what I will do is I will cover aspects of career transition which is applicable across any profession. So that is going to be the mainstay of what we are going to cover, right? And we will keep it interactive. I'll keep asking you questions, and please respond on the chat. I may not have access to the chat because I'm onto full screen now, so I'll request Shubhajit and his team if they can let me know how the questions are being responded to. Okay. In case of Murphy's Law, we just had a first shower of after many months here in Kerala. I'm from Alua, which is God's own country, and so in case if the internet decides to give up, please hang on. We'll get back soon. Okay, we'll go into tethering mode, and I'll get back soon. Right. So, what to expect from this session? I just want you to answer one question before I go further. When you are going to attempt a career transition, right? what is the first thing that is preventing you from doing it? The first thing that thought comes to your
Sir,
mind.
your just to interrupt in between, sir, your slides are not in full view.
What happened to that?
You have to do slideshow.
Just once again, I'm stop sharing. So, do you want me to go to entire screen? That was better,
Yeah,
right?
that would be better, sir. Entire screen would be better.
Just let me know if this is on,
Yeah, that's better, sir.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I was on this question of what is the first thing that's preventing you from carrying out a career transition or a career change. So going forward, I will use the word career transition. I won't use the word change. Okay. So tell me what's the first thing. You can just type it in the chat. So with it, I would request you if you can just shoot out what they're saying. What is the
Yeah,
first thing
sure,
that
sir. It will come on the chat. Don't worry, sir. It will come on the chat.
yeah, but I can't see the chat.
Yeah, yeah. I'll shoot it out. I'll shoot it out.
Right? The first thing that hits you,
Yeah.
like for
Someone says
instance,
fear of someone's Bhagya says fear of unknown.
oh yes, very true. What else? Anybody else? One of the first things that when I spoke to people when they were shifting careers was that they didn't want to move out of a comfort level, the comfort zone that people are very fond of. Right? So that is one of the reasons why they say, as long as we can last in this comfort zone, let's stick to that. So that is one of the reasons which I found in my experience of talking to people. So she says now it is the fear of the unknown, which is very much synonym to what I just now said. So what do you
Also,
expect
sir.
from this? Yeah,
Also,
please go ahead.
also, Krishnamurti says not able to meet the expected standards and skills required in the market.
Wonderful.
Then
Yes.
Vaishnav Kunath says fear of failure. Sandy says different field. So everybody
Oh,
has a
good.
perspective.
Yeah, absolutely fine. So I'm going to address all that you've just now said, right? And what we're going to do in this session is, so for all of you who have shared that is, see how we can handle it. Anything that we are not able to do, will have a action plan. That's the way that we need to look at things. So in phase one, we're going to talk about essentials of career transition. What are the pillars of a successful career transition? That's what we're going to do. Factors to consider. Now, if you consider the factors, then you will come across the skill gaps, where one of you just now said that there are skill gaps and you're afraid of that. So, how do you fill that up? What is the technique for doing it? I will share that with you. And then executing the career change. This is where the action happens. So far, it's all in the thought, it's all in the drawing board. Now you have to execute it. In phase two, I will take you through career transition CVs. What are the nuances? I'm not going to talk to you about how the CV is going to be made. I'm going to tell you only those aspects which are important for career transition. What should come into your CV when you're career transiting? Only that I'm going to cover. And I will also cover 8 years because 5 to 10 years back, 8 years was not even in the scene. When I was head of HR at the time, there was not even in the scene. Today, most companies without 8 years they can't function because the volume is so high. What is 8 years? It is application tracking system. Some call it system, some call it software. Whatever it is basically filtering the CV so that it is what 500, 5,000 CVs coming for a particular job to a talent acquisition manager or a recruiter. He or she gets to filter it so that they just get enough what they want based on a job description which is aligned to the application tracking system. More of it when we come to that. And then, of course, I will take on to the cover letter for the transitioners. Cover letter is slowly fading, by the way. But still, it is important because when you send your CV on an email, it has to have a cover letter. What you're writing on the content and the attachment is your CV, the content is a sort of a cover letter, right? Okay, and phase three, we will, how can I help you guys on this particular career transition and how are the questions and answers going to come from you is the last portion of phase 3, right? So we will talk about pillars of career change, right? So these pillars, there are three of them, and all the three of them are important. You need to address them equally, and that is why it's called pillars of career change. The first, of course, is a need for a career change. I will discuss this. There is a The next slide we will talk about what is difference between a want and a need for a career change, right? Once we identify that, is it really a career change that we're looking at, or is it just one of those thoughts? We will decipher that. And then once we decipher that, then we are going to take a look at what is going to be the upskilling and the certifications that we need to do to ensure that we do the career change or the transition. And finally, how do we execute it, right? And this three pillars is the one that's going to make a successful career transition. So all of you very rightly who said that the fear of unknown, that and you're not very sure about what's going to happen, and the fear of will I be able to make it, all that get addressed once you have all these three pillars in place. The first is the reasons of the career change. That is what we need to address first. So I was talking about this want and the need. There is a difference between both of this, the want and the need. Can somebody tell me what is a want or a need? Just one or two words, that's it. What's the difference between a want and a need? Somebody can I'll just take only the first answer that comes, right? How do you differentiate the want and the need of a career change?
So there is a delay, around 20 seconds of delay between what we speak and when they heard.
Oh,
So we
okay.
need to wait, not even 20 seconds, maybe 5 to 10 seconds.
Sure, sure. That's
Yes,
fine.
so first reply is need is perks, want is desire. Bhagya says want is desire. Krishnamurti
Okay.
says need is perks.
I didn't expect that. Wow. Thank you so much for giving me a different perspective of what I wanted to understand. All right. Okay, fine. With that, let me go like this. Want is something that's there in your mind, it's an intention. I want a great career. I want a better salary. I want to move out of this toxic workplace. I want a better manager. These are all your wants. Okay. Wants is something like, okay, you're driving a car, you have a car and it's got its tires, the tires are getting bald, and so I want to change the tires. So you will push this car as much as it can till the time you have the first tire burst. So till then it's a want. Thereafter it becomes a need that you need to change the tires now. So similarly, in your career transition, it will be a want. Even a normal frustration or a setback will become a want for you to change. But the need will happen when something like a pandemic happens. When the pandemic happens, when all the hospitality industry shut down, the logistic industry shut down, that was the time when people felt that now is the need for me to change my career. So that's the difference between a want and a need. And this difference you must keep in mind, because unless you go for the need, you may not really be onto the career change, right? Going further, what are the external factors for change? I might go a little faster because I want to cover a lot of ground. If at all you find me going faster than what you can imbibe, please flag me down there. Okay, I'll go slow. So the external factors and an internal factors are two different things that we have to firstly consider. In the external factors, the first is economic recession. We've all seen it. Our industries or the companies, or sorry, the countries' economic or the reasons. The USA is going through it. The European countries are going through. People are losing jobs. So these are reasons for a change in the job or change in the career itself. The next is technological advancements, right? Today, automation is coming in such a big way that, especially in the plants and the factories, the automation is actually throwing away a lot of jobs. And today, also, you will see. I'll just take an example of HR. When I joined about 10 years back, HR was more of a gut reaction. It was more of an experience. Today, if I want to solve a HR problem, I have to back it up with data. I have to back it up with metrics. So there is a technological advancement because now I need to know how to use Power BI. I need to use advanced Excel techniques. I need to use so many other tools to make sure that I'm able to take a decision based on data. So technological advancement is another reason for you to consider career transition. The third is industry drivers, which again, these are all more or less some of those reasons which you may not have a direct control. Industry reasons. Okay. So today, for instance, we are talking about the hybrid cars, or we were talking about hybrid car 5 or 6 years back, but it didn't catch on. We were still with the fossil fuel. Even now, we are still with fossil fuel. Look at the way the electric cars have just moved into it. So the automotive industry is shifting now, right? So all those guys who were on technology of fossil fuel have to move really fast to upskill themselves to get into the EV. I'm just giving an example of how industry drives your career change. And then comes force majeures, which is just like the pandemic. If pandemic hits, you can't do anything about it. So external factors, put in a nutshell, are things that you will have very little control over it, but that will force you to change your jobs. Now let's look at the internal part of, or the personal factors rather, right? The personal factors why you want to actually change. The first of it is this dissatisfaction and the frustration that you might feel in your current job. Now, here the want and the need is more pronounced in this first aspect. If you have a bad boss, is that the reason for you to be dissatisfied or frustrated? Is it something that you can improve by dealing with a tough boss? Is it that skill that you need to learn? Or rather, switch the job, switch the company? So that is where the want and the need you have to identify when you're answering this question of personal factors. The first, why are you dissatisfied? Okay. And what is the reason for that frustration? Is it temporary? And let me go a little philosophical here. Everything will change, right? So even if there is a temporary frustration or dissatisfaction, it's just a matter of time before it turns around, right? Whether it turns around because of your doing it or because of some other factors, that remains to be seen, but it is never permanent. Okay. So then comes your lack of professional or a financial growth. We've seen how in government jobs people stagnate. Somebody joins as a clerk and perhaps retires as an office superintendent. That's it. 20, 30 years, they just be there. And that is something which obviously is not there in the corporate. You change much faster. Today, changing your jobs every 3 to 5 years is perhaps considered a norm right now. So you lack your professional growth. Suddenly you feel that, okay, I'm stagnating. People are overtaking me. And then you feel that you need to do something about it. So that is the reason. And your financial growth. The the economy is changing, but your salary is not changing as fast as it should. So therefore, you will want to move to a different job or a different company to make sure that you are able to keep pace with the inflation, keep pace with your aspirations of your family and all of that. Then comes your work-life balance. Now, work-life balance is a very, very controversial subject. I don't want to go into details of it, but suffice to say that work-life is not two different things. If you understand this, a whole lot of your life becomes easier. The moment you distinctively make it two different one and then you draw such strong boundaries, that's when the frustration and dissatisfaction increases multifold, right? So enough of this here because this is a topic which we can discuss for next 10 days and it'll still not end. So work life balance is one of the reasons why you need to change. For instance, let's say you are your mother recent the new mother now, and therefore it will have a different dynamics on the way that you're working. So that certainly will influence your job change or a career change. Okay. So that is one aspect of it. Or there is a sick elder person in our house, and therefore we need to go easy on the way that we are dedicating our time. So there are something that you have to make personal adjustments. And then comes your purpose and passion. At some stage, you will realize that it's not money that I want, it is the passion that I want. Maybe you are somebody who is very fond of pets. Maybe you are inspired by climate change. So you want to move out Let's say you're working for an electrical company, okay, and so you want to move out from there and want to be in, say, this the renewable energy field. You want to go and make a difference there. So you have to upskill yourself, learn more about solar energy, wind energy, all of that, do sessions on that, and then you move your career, because that is where your purpose, that's where your passion is. So these are your personal factors for change. So what works for you, the external factors which you may not have much control, and personal factors which you certainly are within your group. These two are going to play the role in your transition runway. When you've decided, now I need to transit. So transition runway and takeoff. Before I go to what exactly when I'm meaning by this, can some of you share your perspective of what do I mean by saying transition runway or a takeoff point? What exactly does it fall on you? Just one or two words, not more than that. What is a transition runway and what is a takeoff point? Whatever comes to your mind. So we are going with a lag, 10, 15 seconds.
Five word seconds. So Sandy says path to next career.
Okay, good. So that's your runway. How long will it take for you to go to your next career? That's your transition. And thanks, Sandy. That was a good one. And the takeoff point is when you actually move into the next shift, right? So there are three things that you need to consider. The first is your experience factor. Now, what I
Yeah.
mean by experience factor,
Few more answers coming in, sir.
sure, sure, please, let's hear that. Let's hear that.
Yeah. Harpreet says preparation and switch. Okay.
Yeah,
And Krishnamurti says upskilling. Amit Sharma says enabler to transition.
yeah,
Thirumalai says runway is preparation and takeoff is taking action.
absolutely.
And
Great.
Zara says point to move on.
Yeah, that's it. The point to move on. That's the takeoff point. So all of you got the perspective right, right? I'm just breaking down what all of you have said into three factors. The first is your experience factor. So when I say experience factor, the older you are as far as experience are concerned, if you're going to make a drastic change in your career at that time, then you need to cover up for the gap in the experience. Okay, the armed forces guys know this much better than anybody else. They've been for 10 years, 14 years, 20 years in the armed forces doing a phenomenally amazing things. And suddenly, when they go to the corporate, they realize that they need to upskill themselves. And they do the upskilling, but then when it comes to the interviews, they are told, hey, you've upskilled yourself financially, but where what have you done? How have you learned the grassroots? Or somebody who's wanting to do an MBA in marketing and he's done that, but when he goes there, what have you done about the FMCG marketing? What experience do you have? These are the questions they ask. So somehow they need to fill up that gap of that ground level experience. So this is the challenge which you make a a career shift as you move later and later on in life. It becomes a little more challenging. I won't say it is not possible. I will say it's more challenging. Whereas career transition in the first few years is far more easier. Somebody who's been in the IT decides, no, let me go into HR. It happens. I know of a vice president who's been a business head of a plant. He's moved into HR in an IT company. Okay, so that's after almost 24 years. So it's possible. I'm not saying it's not possible, but the point is you need to have the environment there to support you to make the transition. That is where the experience factor is to be considered. Okay. The next thing that you need to factor obviously is your knowledge factor. Let's say that you've been in the recruiting of a HR job, right? Now you want to go into the HRIS, or you want to go into something like a decision making or analytics, business analytics, or HR analytics. So you need to scale up. You need to do courses on how to use those tools. So that is the acquired skill. And what is the transferable skill that you have acquired? Because you've been in recruiting, you know, you understand people. You understand what they're saying during the interviews and what they are not saying during the interviews. So you use that people skill to sell your decision making after you've done your metrics because you acquired the skills of business analytics. So that is the transferable skill and the acquired skill, how you mesh both of them. Now, let me put this point straight away here so that it sinks in you. This transferable skill and the acquired skill has to be repeatedly projected in your interviews whenever you do this transition interviews. Let them know what you acquired. Let them know what are your transferable skills that you're able to bring to the table. This is very, very important to get selected when you do a career transition, right? And the third one is obviously the aptitude factor. Somebody who's not very good at maths, it's no point going into analytics where there is deeper aspects of arithmetic and all of that is required. So in that case, you may have to go something that you're very good at. Use that as a reason. Just because there is a job opportunity and you want to shift, because you will find there is a breaking point running up very soon because you are not fit for the job. There is an aptitude issue there. So just make sure whichever career that you want to change into, you must have the aptitude for it, right? So then we'll also consider some of the factors for the change. Now, this is after having all this, and you realize now, I'm not very sure whether this is a career that I want to go. There is a doubt in your mind. Okay. So you need to do a self assessment. Fine. So, what is the self assessment that you have to do? The first of the self assessment is something that you can sit on your own and ask yourself, what am I good at? What is it that I'm good at, which I can enhance through an upskilling or a certification so that my second career becomes a career of my choice? The self assessment can also be supplemented by asking your friends, your colleagues, the people who can tell you what you're good at according to them. Okay. So some of those opinions that come to you maybe have to be taken with a pinch or a ton of salt, but whatever it is, they are definitely inputs in your own self assessment of where you can be good at, right? Now, there are for some people who are not very sure of this, right? There are there are tests for the psychometric test which can be done, and you have the DISC method, then you have the pathfinders, especially for career transitioners. Pathfinders is a good tool for you to assess yourself if you're not very sure what are you going to be good at in your second career. And then, of course, Confed's also got a test. Then you have MBTI, Myers-Briggs uh, type indicators. So that is another test which obviously the counselors can do it for you, and they're all available online and they're not very expensive. So you must go ahead and do that to supplement your reason for what you think is your second. Suppose you want a scientific reason to supplement your decision or your hunch that this is what you're good at. Then comes market research. A lot of us make a mistake of listening to people who says, hey, come do this, this particular job is excellent, go for business analytics, it's great, you get a lot of money there, right? They just tell you this. You're not even cut up to know whether are you good at analytics. You just listen to a friend. What you should be doing is a very scientific approach. I'm not going to go into many reasons of how people have gone wrong. I'll just tell you what's the right way of doing it. The first thing that you must do is identify what are the jobs that you feel that you are good at. Just list those jobs, maybe about 5 of them. Don't go beyond that. Anything beyond that is not going to make sense to you. Just take about 3 to 5 jobs. Go to the LinkedIn, look at, feed in all these jobs, find out what is the job description telling you based on your experience, based on your qualifications, what are those requirements for these jobs. Go to a Naukri or go to any of these recruiting platforms, see what their job descriptions are seeking for the jobs that you feel you are good at. Look at what are the qualifications, look at what are the experience levels, look at what are the salaries, look what is the compensation, look across cities, look across companies. Have at least about 20 to 30 companies. Be very, very specific when you do this. This requires a lot of crunching of the internet by you, and only you can do it. You can't get somebody else to do it. Okay, that's important as far as job. But once you get this, you will definitely get an idea of where do you want to go in your second career. Out of that 5 choices, you will be able to narrow down to 1 or 2, right? Then you identify what is the upskilling and certifications that you now need to do to get those jobs and make yourself presentable for the interviews, right? And then comes the financial runway for the career change. It's cost money. Let's say, for instance, you realize that already 7 years, 10 years now, you're not getting into the next leadership role because you're not an MBA. So therefore, you need to do an MBA, and the best way to do an MBA at that particular point of time is to do an executive MBA. No point going and doing the PGP kind of an MBA because you are again back to zero. You're competing with people who are interns and freshers, whereas you should be actually doing your MBA with people who are already stalwarts in the industry. That is where the executive MBA makes more sense to do it. So that you need to have money for it. Do you have that? And secondly, if you lost your job till the time you get the next job, what are your financial situation which will help you run for how many months or maybe years can you go without a job so that you are using the time for your upskilling, right? So that is the financial runway that I was talking about. And then comes the most important, and that's why I'm deliberately putting it in the last. Without networking, you have no hope like hell to get the next job. At your level, especially those 10 plus, we got more than 50% of you registered 10 plus careers. Your jobs, 8 out of 10 jobs, are only through referrals and recommendations. Unless you know people who can recommend you for the next job of yours, you will not be able to get it. Because there are two reasons for this. The first reason is you are more expensive than an intern or a recruit or a fresher because of your experience. So you come with a slightly heavier pay package, and therefore the companies would like to be sure who is the person they're picking for. And most often than not, they always go for referrals and recommendations. So get your networking going, get into LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the only platform that will help you do it. No other platform in the world can do that for you as much as what LinkedIn can do. So I do have a session for LinkedIn, just how to capitalize on that. We'll talk about it. This is your lifeline for your career change. Make sure you network very well. Okay, maybe in the last few months you must start going full steam as far as networking is concerned. And last is the shift in work life integration. When you go into a next job, there's going to be a shift in the way that you have worked in the previous job to the job that you're going to take on. It will be a cultural change, it will be a technological change, it will be a change as far as your aptitude, your soft skills are concerned. There'll be changes for that. Be ready to accept that change, be ready to make mistakes in that change. I'm repeating this. Be ready to make mistakes and change. Don't think a mistake is going to stop you from going ahead. A mistake is only a launch pad for doing better, right? With that attitude, you'll be able to consider the change. Then comes the strategies to bridge that skill gap. Okay, how do you go about doing this? You identified what are the jobs you want. You identified what are the skills that you need to skill. Some of the soft skills you can learn it yourself. Some you will need to go to institutes to pick it up, right? Skill assessment. This psychometric test also can give you how to go about doing a skill assessment. And then you're learning your opportunities and side projects. This is something which you can do in the current job. I know of people like who were there in my team. They were into recruiting, but they volunteered to do the HR analytics, because they want to learn that, and they went and took on some side projects within the team to help fill up those aspects, which is innovative in the HRIS. And so they learned a new skill in the bargain, and therefore they've expanded themselves. So when they go into a head of HR or a CHRO role, they would have actually done all the other functions of HR. Similarly, coming to the IT portion of it, somebody has worked on MongoDB for long, and they want to learn a new language, or they want to go into UI UX. So therefore, these are some of the opportunities which you can do as a side project and move it. Your company will be delighted to help you do that because they're getting somebody to do something within the same pay scale. Okay, volunteering or internship. Why I put word volunteering is that there are some of us who are very smart about this. They volunteer to go and learn a new language. They know that they may not get paid for it, but that very fact that they are smart enough to understand that this volunteering is the ultimate that is going to pitch them above the rest. It's going to make them stand up among 10 interviewees This is where they do volunteer and they do internship. Internship is not necessarily for people who are in their first 5 years. Internship can also happen after 20 years in a company too, right? You volunteer to go and do. There are a lot of armed forces officers whom I know who have volunteered to go take on, say, project management role just to understand how is the industry, handling project managers in the leadership role, and companies are delighted to take them on that. And then once they prove themselves, they are obviously most often than not they get absorbed. Okay, and then finally the refining of your professional development. This is an ongoing process. Unless you want to stay the way that you are, the companies nowadays the companies don't actually keep people who are stagnating. They churn out faster. They churn you out faster. So instead of company churning out, it is better that you learn new things and you are on the uptake as far as the latest technology is concerned. So you are always ahead. So refine your professional development, and it can just not be only lessons or it not be just about a degree or a diploma. It can be your own way that you're conducting yourself, your own way that you are taking on leadership roles. Like for instance, an architect who's been working for 10 years on his own suddenly is going to get alarmed when he finds a team for himself. How is he going to handle that? That is his professional development when he's going to handle a team as a business head of an IT company. So that was something I want to tell you. Now comes the executing of your career transition. In this executing of career transition, we have three things. It can divide into three things. First is before your career transition, during your career transition, and after your career transition. What should happen? The first before is the research. We talked about that. The upskilling, we also talked about that. The financial planning, depending on what your capacity is, which whether you want to do it from the top 10 institutes or the tier 2 institutes, that's about your financial planning. And then comes this most important thing, how you are known in the industry, your ATS compliant master CV, right? Why I'm talking about master CV a little while later, I will touch upon that. And then your networking, right? How successfully you have done this networking. All this happens before your career transition. And during the career transition, when you're going for the interviews, how are you preparing for it? 60 to 70% of success in interview is preparation before the interview. And you're doing your mock interviews to make sure that you are coming out well. And the continuous learning curve, you're always learning some new things on the same topic or maybe on the same skill set, and adapting to change. The most intelligent human being, or the easiest definition of intelligence, is adaptability. If you're able to adapt to the changing circumstances, then you are an intelligent human being. Then once you have done the career transition comes the most important thing of sustaining yourself. Career expectation. What is the expectation that your new career is expecting from you, and how are you articulating that expectation to your boss, to your colleagues, to your stakeholders? Very important. Okay, so that they understand you and you understand them. Next comes the networking and the mentorship that you need. You will definitely need somebody to mentor you in a new career, new job. Please get hold of one. It is very important that you need a mentor, right? And networking is a continuous process until the time that you hit your grave or you get into your funeral pyre. Networking is always on. And finally, the work life balance. How are you adjusting to the new environment, new location, new job, new culture? That is all which is going to help you in your career transition. You need to take hold of all these three aspects when you do that. Okay. Now we come to the second phase of it, which is transitioning the CVs and the cover letter, right? So I'm not going to the basic. Are you okay with it? Just put a why that so that I know that I'm not going to go into the basic. Just a why, so that I know that we can go ahead with the transitioning. I'm only covering the nuances here, just for my comfort sake. That your whys are there. Are we getting whys or any N? No there.
It's all why. It's all
All
wise.
right, great. Okay, now the basic stuff, because this is something which even when I left the corporate, people are still confused between a CV and a resume. Okay, at all levels. Believe me, it's at all levels. A CV is basically a curriculum vitae, and that's for typically 2 pages or more. Or more is only for academic jobs, but otherwise, rest of the world, it is only 2 pages. A resume typically is 1 page, and it is meant for people who are, the graduates, the postgraduates, the interns, the freshers. For them, resume, because that's all they need to cover in that 1 page. Okay. If you find some people asking you for a resume after 20 years of experience or 30 years of experience, believe me, they're not doing justice to your career. Because in 1 page, after putting your qualifications and your rest of everything else and things, like for about say 20 or 30% of the page, if you're going to talk about your career and they expect you to understand what you did in this 20 years from that 20% or 30%, I think I'm very brutally telling you that's a very stupid way of asking somebody of such senior asking for a 1 page resume. Okay. So I'm very emotional about this because this is really killing a lot of talent because you're not able to get your what you've done with just 1 page of a resume. Fine. Now, elements of a winning resume. Okay, what should the resume cover as far as your career transitioning is concerned? Firstly, it should reflect your professional personality. So what you did in the last 10 years, 14 years, 30 years, whatever you did, okay, it should reflect that. And to do that, you need to create a master CV and align it with a job description for every opportunity that you're going to apply for. Because the ATS is a software, cold-blooded software, and the talent acquisition manager is going to tell the ATS, okay, here is a job description, and here are the highlighted or the keywords. I want 80% match, and that's it. All that 5,000 odd CVs goes through that software, and the software picks out only 80% of it. So even if your JD or sorry your CV is just 79.5, it is still a reject. You may be super qualified, or you may be super qualified, but you never spoke the language of the job description, and therefore your CV is not getting through. You see the live issues as to why you're not getting selected for a particular job, although you feel that you are cut out for it, it's because of this, right? Highlight your achievements and with matrices. Okay, it's not good enough to say that I did extremely well as a marketing manager in this company. That is just a statement. How did you increase the market? In what percentage? That speaks volumes about you. If you can give hyperlinks of your images or visuals or some proof, if this is something which a lot of people don't do in their CVs, do that. Go innovative on your CV. Put a hyperlink of, let's say, you're getting an award or you are, some aspect of your a page or a slide of a PowerPoint which talks about your achievement. Put that as a hyperlink there. Use crisp language, right? Absolutely every word in that CV of yours should speak about you, right? No no buffering or cotton wooling there. Then include relevant transferable skills. They're looking at that. If you're coming from, say, a HR background, and if you're looking at a job which is, let us say, on operations, they want to know what of the HR can you bring into the operations table. I'm just giving a very wild example. So what transferable skills as a HR person can you bring into the operation is what they're looking at. Qualifications, certifications needs no explanation. And use action verbs: created, organized, led. These are the words that you don't use I was responsible for. You were responsible for, but whether you did it or not is still a question. So use active verbs and proofread. Use spell check before you do it. And finally, convert it into a PDF before emailing, because words can get distorted in different versions. Whereas PDF, there are less chances. Okay. Now coming to the cover letter. A cover letter is dying out because cover letter was important when you used to give your CV in the hard copy time. Now what has happened, because it's going through emails, what content you're writing on the email body is somehow taken as the cover letter. So what should come into the cover letter? It is firstly an elevator pitch. I'm not explaining what an elevator pitch. Most of you know what it is. It is within the first 30 seconds, if you can talk about yourself, that is an elevator pitch. So the cover letter is actually doing the job, right? So when to use it? Use it when you are sending an attachment of your CV. Okay. And sometimes in the companies, what happens, you can upload your CV onto the website in the drop down of their careers. So there you may not you may not need a cover letter. Or sometimes in LinkedIn or in the job portals, when you upload your CV, you may not require a cover letter unless they specifically ask for it. The cover letter actually asks or answers the question, why should hire you? So you must make it that convincing as to why. When they look at the cover letter, they it must inspire them to look at your CV. It is like that. Okay. And therefore highlight the combination of your skill and experience that meets the job description. Highlight the combination of skill and experience. Every word here matters, right? So do that, and then finally focus on how you can add value to the future. See, nobody's going to hire you at this level for you to run the way things are running. No, they want you to take the company to the next level. So if you have to do that, what can you contribute in taking the company to the next level is what requires to be done. Make it very crisp. Why is the profile exciting to you, which you're applying for, and always address it by name. Don't just write good afternoon so and so, or good afternoon HR manager, or hi HR manager, and all those kind of things. If you can get the name, please put that. It makes it even more personal, makes that human connect better, right? And then mention special connections to the company. This is why when I told you that 8 out of 10 jobs are through referrals and recommendations, if you know somebody in the company who's referred you or who has recommended you, please put the name. Make sure that you get the name right. Make sure you get the designation of that person in the company right, and say, give the contact number so that somebody can, when they see your cover letter, they can immediately call that person and find out about you, right? Very, very important. A lot of people feel it's an umbrage. How do I write something like that? It's an insult. No, it's not. Because there are companies who give something called referral bonus to the employees if they refer somebody. Okay, so you're adding to that incentivization of that company policy. So you must mention that, and please tell the person that you're mentioning it, so that in case somebody calls them, they know that you has referred them. Okay, avoid sounding desperate. Don't say that I've lost my job for the past 2 years. I have nothing. I have hungry mouths to feed. Sob story. Nobody's going to give you a job for your sob story. They're going to give a job to you for what you can do to the company. Okay. So let's get that very straight, and close the letter with gratitude and the contact information so that they can reach out to you. If it's an email, everybody knows there's a response to an email, but your mobile number, sometimes you sign up, but you don't give your mobile number. So mobile is the easiest way for people to reach out. So make sure you do that. So the key takeaways is that embrace your career change. Embrace it. Why I'm saying I've used the word embrace here is because welcome it. Don't be afraid of it. Anything that you fear, you must address that fear. That's the best way to get rid of it. Okay. So if you go and do your homework, most of your fears will fall away. Right. When I was in commandos, like what he told me, let me give you a very quick example of how I got rid of my fear. When I joined the 51 Special Action Group, I was afraid of heights. So I had to rappel down a helicopter on my just my hair on my with my hands. So what I did was I used to go in the night, in the dark of the night, climb up the tree with the rope, and I used to slide down the rope. That is the way that I attacked my fear of heights. So unless you take action, unless you do what you're afraid of, you will not be able to overcome that. So if you're afraid of a career transition, attack it, find out what are you afraid of, and address that, how to correct it. That is the best way of handling it. Next, of course, upskilling and networking. These are the only two things that can give you more opportunities and more probability for you to get into it. And finally, prepare for the change, the research that we talked about, make a master CV, and prepare for your interviews, right? And execute career changes with a consistent effort. Consistency pays much more than anything else, right? You may be a very intelligent person, but if you're not consistent, you may be very good, but you don't have the discipline of making a plan work. It's no use, right? No use of the qualifications that you've got. No use of telling me that I am a mentor specialist. Okay, doesn't make any sense. Set your expectations realistic, When you go into a new environment, there will be mistakes. Accept it, learn how to bounce back as fast as possible, and tell people that, yeah, made a mistake. Yes, I will correct it, and this is how I'm going to do it. If you have some ways of helping me do this, support me in that, I will make sure that this doesn't happen again. These are positive signs. It is not running away back and saying, oh, this was not meant for me. That's not the way. If you've done your homework, you will definitely do this, right? So I just want to share with you, I wrote a book on how to sharpen your interview skills. So this is something which I have touched on my experience of being a head of HR and behavioral event interview specialist. So some of the aspects are not available in the books that you normally get in interviews, and it's the price of a pizza. So it's on available on Amazon. And how do I help you in your career transition? I'm just sharing you. I've done about 320 transitions in the last 2.5 years. Okay, most of it are the armed forces, and a lot of it are the senior. I'm talking about people who are in the C suit. Okay, and definitely a lot of youngsters and people who are in the mid careers. How do I do it? Introduction section, pro bono, 30 minutes, and then we do a session of 1 hour each on your need, the options, and navigation of. You might need about 2 to 3 hours of sessions depending on the depth of your concerns, and then I help you design the CV based on the ATS compatibility. So I do sit with you before and after making the CV and make it so that you are able to justify the CV, and the LinkedIn optimization thereafter, because that's where your networking has to happen, and then preparing you for an interview. How do you go about doing that in your new career? And mock interviews should you need it, and then negotiating your compensation. How do you go about doing that, right? So these are skills that is required in your new career transition that you're going to attempt, and navigating through the changed career. Once you have decided to move on, what are you? How do you look at the writing on the wall? These are things that I will be able to tell you in the last of the session that I have. So these are my coordinates for Protect for because what Subhajit is doing is a phenomenal job for cybersecurity to help carry. A lot of people who are going to him are all career transitions. Therefore, here are the coordinates for both of us. Please reach out to us whenever you want, and we'll be able to take a screenshot or whatever is available to you. And we have our own websites, right? And this QR code, if you take a click on your smartphone, you will be able to access my digital card. I have my own YouTube channel on careers. I have my book. I do my blogs. And please, I welcome you to my LinkedIn page. Please connect with me on LinkedIn, right? And take a look at my website and also this. Now I'm taking the question and answer sessions. I took 50 minutes. I hope it's okay, Subhajit.
Oh, no problem, sir. When knowledge is being shared, time is of no major concern, I guess. So we are open for question answers, people, and you can type in your questions, and I'll relay it on to Canvas.
I'll just remove this screen. I don't
Yeah,
need
you
this
can
anymore.
remove that. We can remove the. Yeah.
Okay.
We are open for question answers, people. You can. So
If
I
anybody
think we got a
wants.
first question. If someone has, let me check. Okay, we are open for questions. If anybody has any questions, you can shoot it here. Or uh, what to upskill for managerial jobs at PSUs? This is a question from Sandy.
Okay, Sandy, you have asked very pertinent questions. You have very pertinent questions, sorry. And a managerial job, the best way to approach this question would be to find out what are the managerial jobs that are available in a PSU, or the kind of PSUs that you want to work for. We all have our favorite companies that we want to work for, right? So make a list of that. This is how you need to go about it. Go make a list of that. Go to the companies, their websites, or if you can speak to the HR, be bold enough to go speak to the HR or somebody there and ask them, for a manager, what are you looking at? What are you looking at the qualifications? What are you looking at experience? What is it that is the promotional avenue for it? Ask them that. Once you find that out, then you will know what are the qualifications that would require for a particular aspect of a manager. It could be administration, operations, technical aspects of it, anything, HR, whatever it is. Find out what do they want, and you prepare accordingly your upskilling and certificate. So there is no standard answer that I can give you to this, but I can tell you one thing for sure: the senior lot in any company, right? There are generally policies which says that unless you are an MBA, right, you may not get into the senior lot. So if you have not an MBA, be sure enough to pick up doing an MBA as an executive MBA or anything like that, and please do that as soon as possible so that you're not wasting time. Okay, and that is one of the reasons why a lot of people have lost out opportunities because they are not an MBA. Right? So that's important. I hope I've answered that question. You're on mute, Suvijit.
Yeah, I think that sums up well. Any other questions, guys? You can please ask. Uh, we don't have any questions on LinkedIn. We got one question from YouTube. Right. Sandy replies, "Thank you, sir. Yes." Okay, so I guess people are hesitant to talk. So
Yeah,
do
okay. I understand this. This is a very sensitive topic. People may not want to be seen on a topic like this for obvious reasons. So I understand that. So since they have
personally,
your, yeah, they have your contacts, they have my contacts, so they can reach out, and we can take it further for them. That's
yeah,
perfectly understandable.
yeah,
Fine.
we have one more question, sir, from
Yeah.
Harpreet. Sir, do executive MBAs hold same value as correspondence courses?
Okay. Executive MBAs are far better in terms of your experience of doing an MBA. See, correspondence courses is as good as reading a book. Only thing is that it's spaced out for a period of time, maybe 1 year, 2 year, whatever it is, and you learn from that. That's all, right? Whereas as an MBA, you are a master of business administration, and it's a leadership role that you're looking at. So unless you connect with people, unless you connect with people of your peers, unless you connect with it, so that's why an executive MBA, a hybrid model of an executive MBA, allows you to interact with fellow cohorts. We know you'll be about 30, 35 guys in that particular batch. So they all come from various industries, they come from various positions, 10 years, 15 years, and various things. So you learn a lot from them. And that is where executive MBA is a clear difference from a normal correspondence course. So if I am a head of HR, and if I have a candidate who's done his MBA from a correspondence course, and I have a candidate who's done it from executive MBA, right? I will prefer an executive MBA because he's got more exposure to the real business, right? So I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, I think very much, sir. I think we have a question coming from Bhagya. Before that, there's a question from Zara, which says, "Sir, how to go about doing a startup in sports?"
Okay,
Shall I
okay,
take
this
it, sir?
is yeah, yeah, why not? Yeah, wonderful. So, okay, startup in sports, right? Firstly, what are you looking at startup? I just want to understand. When you say startup in sports, what exactly are you wanting to start up?
Yeah,
You see,
Zara,
sports is
what is your intent? What is it? Is it cyber? You want to have a sports marketing or apparel, or so you have to give the problem statement to which, because sports is a vast field, right? You can make sports shoes, you can make T-shirts, you can make apparel, you can go into
yeah,
marketing, you can go into
you may want to start an IPL team also.
yeah. So it's a wide scope. So that is actually the first part. What is the problem statement? What is it that you want to start? Have you defined it very clearly? So that definition is very, very important, Zara. I feel like when I intended of doing a startup, I said, okay, what is it that I'm good at? I knew that cybersecurity is something which I definitely excel in, but can I reach there? Do I have the funding? Can I straight away jump to what I can do? So what I started was, okay, I saw a gap wherein I saw that CISSP was one certification which was of utmost importance, and I said, fine. So if that is a segment, how do I target it? And that's when I started. So first thing I did was I took free sessions on LinkedIn. Okay, and that gave me a little bit of popularity on LinkedIn. World is social today. Okay, and then I went on to, so that was the first problem statement I addressed. I gained some visibility. Then the next step was to, monetize or generate revenue out of, training, and then fuel other parts of the verticals in cybersecurity, which I intend to do. And first part was, opening an MSP. So I became a managed services provider, and then again, I now am into product building. So that's a roadmap which I created. Now if you want to, Zara's question is, coaching and managing coaches to train future sportsmen. So that's the
Wonderful.
segment which Zara is trying to, address.
Yeah. Okay. So firstly, you need to, the first step is firstly, you need to identify who are the coaches and which field of sports are you going to look at, right? So first get down to that. And then for that, you need to get into the sports. Every state has got a sports department. Okay. That's the best way to get into it. Go there, speak to people there, and find out who are the coaches who are currently there, and then thereafter you need to reach out to them, so you have to approach them from ground up. And finally, once you have got that, then you need to now look at, now how do I get these coaches to train teams, and what kind of teams at what levels, what is the year, how long do I need to do it, what is my timelines for this, and now that the timelines are like this, what should I now need to finance this timelines, should I need institute, how much do I need to pay. So you need to sit and work that. So each aspect of it brings you further and further back to answer that question. So once you sit and do this, a lot of your confusion gets sorted out because you're answering each question by the homework that you're doing, right? So again, this time is too less for us to discuss this at length. We can go ahead and then find out more structure. We can put a lot of structure into how do you do a startup for this great idea that you have come out with. Hope that has given you something to chew on, some thought to chew on, Zara. It's like there's some issue.
Uh, yeah, sir. I got disconnected.
Oh, okay.
So I had to restart my thing. We have another question, sir.
Okay.
So the next question is from Bhagya, which she says, "Do I have to step down on my position if I transition? Suppose I am a senior consultant in my current profile. Is stepping down a level mandatory, or starting from an analyst level mandatory since I'm changing my domain?
Okay.
Do companies value your transferable skills as much as the core skills?"
Okay. Are you stepping down because of any particular reason? I would like to know that one. And secondly, where are you stepping down into? That's these two. If she can share, it'll be great.
Yeah, Bhagya, I hope you been able to hear it out. Just chat it out on WhatsApp, and I will relate. She's not stepping down.
Okay, fair enough. So now this is a time when a lot of people have done this during the pandemic, the first major time when they had to step down because the company shut shop, or they had to close down the business temporarily for whatever reasons. that is the time when actually stepping down had to be done because they have to survive. You had to survive, so you do that. But if you have an option, you need to use internship, you need to use volunteering, you need to use all that to fill that gap of filling up what are the what should I say, the knowledge gap which they want you to be scaled up with. If you can do that, and then so when you go into the next role, then you can convince them saying that yes, this is something that I had to do it, so therefore I did that with so and so person or with so and so company. I was able to do this one, and therefore I've been able to understand this much better. So then they know that yes, if there is a gap, you are a person who fills up that gap. That is how you need to scale up if you're going to different one. Okay. So that is that the question that you're asking, and have I got you the right answer?
Bhagya, I feel that Canvas is there in our group, and you can get in touch one on one to further get it clarified. Right? I hope that will meet your requirement because she's just checking whether she has to step down. There were many ways whether you would like to step down and then prepare and then roll over, or you prepare then step down and then roll over. So there are multiple models available, Bhagya. We'll have to, get in one to clarify it further. Right. So I think we have taken adequate
Wonderful.
questions. We have done our part, and if any more needs are there, guys, please get in touch with Canvas or self. We'll be happy to answer your queries anytime.
Yes,
Right.
certainly. Yeah, certainly.
Right, sir.
And
Thank you so much. Thanks for this. It's a very knowledgeable session. I've attended this. There's a question from Adrian. Adrian, do cybersecurity jobs also require an MBA? I'll answer that question, right?
yeah,
And I'll take on that question, right, Adrian?
sure.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And from Protect Academy and from our community, we thank you for this enlightening session. In case anybody needs your services further, can get in touch. I personally had an experience, so yeah, I can vouch for it. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so
Uh,
much, and great being here today. One wonderful hour. Thank you so much.
right,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
I'll take on forward, sir. Since people are here, I'll take it a little forward and just introduce our academy. Once I started this, we said there is this huge cyber security skill gap, and that is where we said, okay, let's do something about it, and we're trying to get 1 lakh cyber warriors into the space. We've reached roughly 2,500. Let's see when we touch the figure of 1 lakh. Right.
I'm
Uh,
really surprised. Yeah.
yeah. So this session is not meant for you people, but
Yeah.
there are a lot of cybersecurity community members also in this particular session. I've given a small roadmap how the cyber and
I will
information.
leave. Can I leave
Sir,
with this?
please. Thank you so much. Yeah, you can.
Thank
You
you.
can.
Bye.
Right, sir. Take care. Bye bye. I'll take this small session on how the information and cybersecurity space is right now, and how if you would like to get into there, what are the courses and certifications which can help you out. Now, if you look at the slide, I have given you certain levels. So first is the remuneration is Indian standards. I'm not referring to global standards as of now. The remuneration is as per Indian standards. Now, if you look at the college level, or once you're starting your career journey in information and cybersecurity, you land up with associate level roles. Now, one of the major problems in the cybersecurity industry, when I look at it, when even I do hiring, the challenge which I face is uh, getting a candidate and training them. Okay, now cybersecurity is a vast field. You have to understand networks, you have to understand applications, you have to understand physical threats, you have to understand uh, you know identity and access management. It's a vast field. Now, somebody who has had an experience in uh, IT, for them making this transition may be easier, because once you are into IT, you face certain aspects of cybersecurity also, right? So, what Today the market is cybersecurity market is driven by certifications. Now, why is it so? Firstly, there is no structured cybersecurity education starting from school level to undergrad level to postgrad level. People are coming up with courses, but those are tuned to academic purposes. Once you look at what is required in the industry, what is required in the daily job routines, daily job descriptions, that is covered more in the certifications. And that's why globally certifications have become a standard in cybersecurity. Now, once you're starting with your information security or cybersecurity journey, you have to clearly demarcate where you want to go. Do you want to go into management, or do you want to go into hands-on? So these are the two aspects which you want to, take your career into. If you're looking at management, then you're looking at risk management. You're looking at management specific roles. Having said that, management specific roles also you cannot get into directly, and you would probably require some technical hands-on. So most of the cybersecurity and information security careers initially start with hands-on roles, wherein you could be an analyst. Okay, you could be a SOC analyst, you could be a network security analyst, you could be a GRC analyst, you could be an application security analyst, but you have to start at the analyst level roles. Even though if you have a good IT background, cybersecurity industry demands certifications, and few certifications which are very well in demand are, of course, CISSP. Uh, you need to have, if you're going into network security, you need to have CCNA plus CCNA security plus CCIE. If you're looking at SOC analyst roles, you need to have CompTIA security plus or CEH or SOC analyst level 1, level 2 certifications. Now, having said that, with certification you need hands-on, and I'll be frank that there are so many labs available for free on YouTube, on AWS, on Azure, that you actually don't need to go to a company to get that experience. You can go to Try Hack Me, you can go to Hack the Box to actually get hands-on experience. Where actually you do not get an experience is at an enterprise level. So how does an enterprise function? That is the experience which you do not have. And one of the best things which Prem told, that seek a paid or an unpaid internship. The level of experience you'll get within 3 months is a totally different ball game altogether. So I have few interns working with me. Within 3 months, the kind of experience they gain, I have to absorb them. I end up absorbing them in my own vertical. Why? Because that is the experience which they are seeking, and now they can switch over to other careers. Okay. The slides which I showcase on this particular slide review foil right now gives you a list of certifications which will help you at different levels of career where you are. Today's webinar is not focused at that, but I do cover so that people who are there can get some additional knowledge. Okay, this is what we look at, and these are the certifications which help information and cybersecurity specialists at different level, at entry levels, at mid-career levels, at senior levels, and at very senior levels. Right. So if you look at the complete career progression space, somewhere at around 3 to 5 years of gaining your hands-on experience and certifications, you go into mid-management or senior level roles where management level certifications like CISSP, CISM, technical tools like working on SIEM, EDR, XDR help you in growing your career. And once you have crossed the barrier of 10 to 15 years, more domain specific certifications like CISSP, ISSAP, health CISSP, they help you. But that comes with your own vertical experience, where you stand at, right? One thing which I have noticed in the complete information and cybersecurity spaces, CISSP stands out as one of the key certifications which every hiring manager is looking at. It has its own benefits, and it's a base forming certification. I'm not saying it's a very high level certification. It is a base forming certification, and it opens the roadway to your career in a way which you cannot imagine. There are 8 domains, and you can actually decide which domain would you like to take your career onto. Okay, that's all for today from my side. It's going to be a long session, or more than an hour. Okay, if any questions, please get in touch with us on LinkedIn, YouTube, our WhatsApp channel. Okay, we are available everywhere. Right, we provide a lot of trainings in mainly CISSP, cloud certifications, and much more. You can visit our website, learn.protecti.io, and you can go through the bouquet of courses we offer. I still have not answered one question by Adrian. Adrian asked, do cybersecurity jobs also require an MBA for higher roles? I'll say no. This is Having an MBA is good because you understand the business level decision making, and it definitely helps. I'll not say it will not help, but it's not mandatory. It's not required. I have not. I'm dealing with senior cybersecurity roles, and I do not see MBA is a core factor because it's somewhere between a management and a technical hands-on role. CISSP takes on that management MBA role for cybersecurity professionals. Okay, I hope I've been able to answer your query, Adrian. And if you have any more questions, you can just ping us uh, on WhatsApp, LinkedIn, or YouTube. Okay, thank you guys. Thank you so much. These are our coordinates. You can get in touch with us. You can land us on any of the coordinates. This is our number. You can get in touch with us. And thank you all for attending this show. Pretty long one. And we do come up with informative webinars. We're planning a webinar on national critical infrastructure protection pretty soon. It should be coming up maybe next week or next to next week. Hang out, and we're getting some very senior people who have worked in the industry to give their views on how to manage your careers. Okay, thank you all, and see you. Goodbye. Take care.